Lesson 1-6 Relations. Essential question. How do you determine the independent and dependent variables? There are two vocab words for this lesson. The first is independent variable and the second is dependent variable. The independent variable in a situation or a graph is always what happens first. You can also think of this as the x value. The dependent variable, if you look at the word depend, is the dependent variable depends on the independent variable. So depends on the independent variable. And you can also think of it as what happens second or last. Which is our y value. So independent and dependent are kind of like cause and effect. Independent would be our cause. Dependent would be the effect based off of what the independent variable is. First example. Identify the independent and dependent variables in each situation. So the first one is, in gym, the number of calories you burn increases as the number of pacers you do increases. So we're going to determine what is our independent variable and what is our dependent variable. So the two things that are happening in this situation is you're burning calories and you're doing pacers. So you have to think about what is going to happen first. Are you going to burn the calories or are you going to run the pacers? Well, you're going to do the pacers first. So that's our independent. The number of pacers you run. And then the number of calories you burn depends on the number of pacers. If the temperature gets cold, sales of winter coats go up. So what has to happen first? Is the temperature going to get colder, or are the sales of winter coats going to increase? Well, people aren't going to start buying coats until it gets cold. So it has to get colder. So the temperature is the independent variable. And you could even say the temperature going down. And then based off of that temperature going down, the sales of coats is our dependent. And that should increase. Same directions and two more situations. The more hours you work, the more money you make. So if you think about any job, you can't get paid until you work. So our independent is the number of hours worked. The dependent is the money made. In the winter, the amount of electricity used increases as the temperature falls. So again, we have to think about what is going to happen first. Are we going to determine the amount of electricity used first, or are we going to see what the temperature is? Well, the amount of electricity is based off of the temperature. It depends on the temperature. So our independent variable is the amount of electricity used our dependent is the temperature. And the last two. The deeper you dive in the ocean, the greater the pressure is on your body. So what depends on the other? Well, the pressure is going to depend on how deep you dive. So we're going to say the depth of the dive or how deep you dive is what we're going to look at first. And then depending on the depth of the dive, we'll be able to find out what the pressure is. The area of a square increases as the length of a side increases. So what they're talking about, two things increasing. You have to think about what is increasing first. So it says the area of a square increases as the length of a side increases. So our independent is the length of the side. And then depending what the length is, we can find out our area. So keep in mind that I'm not writing the words increase and decrease and greater. I'm leaving those out. I'm just looking at what the variables are, the independent and dependent variable, which does not include the words increase, decrease, greater than, less than, those kinds of words. Summary. The homework for this lesson is we'll do matching cards in class and then a worksheet for homework.